Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish and welcome back to Conqueror's Blade. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the open world, as I think it's a really interesting part of the game, and if this game is going to be a successful free-to-play game, I think this open world has to be one of the major selling points of it. So we'll take a look at the open world, we'll see how to craft, how to gather resources, as well as how the clans work, and then we'll finally take a look at crafting armor and weapons for your units, so you can save yourself a ton of bronze, because you can just buy them from the shop, but also crafting them is a great money saver, so we'll be taking a look at that in today's video. So to go ahead and find your way to the Watchman, if you're playing on the Chinese-esque area, you just go out these gates and make your way to this Watchman right here. I think the medieval area has a similar kind of gate which you have to go to, but just keep an eye out for this symbol right here. Now when you arrive to him, just obviously interact with him and ask to leave the city itself. You'll then be brought to this screen where you can choose the soldiers you want to take with you into the open world. These soldiers will class as laborers, so when you go to resource positions, which we'll take a look at in a second, these guys will work it. So obviously the dudes with greater labor cost will be able to get you much quicker resources. And then you'll also be able to fight with these guys in the open world if you run across any territory battles, or maybe you go into some enemy clan territory. So what I'll do is I'll just take some of my good soldiers along with me, just in case. I mean, we won't run into anyone bad because we are going to be in friendly Imperial territory, but you never know. So as you can see, my labor is currently 16.96. That's my current value. You can then also see my food value as well. If I go out of this starting region, the food value itself will start to go down. So you have to keep your army supplied on the mini-map or on the open world map, as well as going ahead and keeping them armed and ready to fight, because this is how this is how the clan battles will be working when you dive into clan battles and PvP. So here we go. We've now jumped into the open world, and it's kind of like a Mountain Plague-esque battle. You can see my army right here. I've got my spearmen, my bowmen, and my swordsman, and now I can traverse the open world. I can explore the stuff around me, and there'll obviously be players doing exactly the same things. I can also see other cities kind of scattered around the map, and I can travel to them as well, and each one of these cities are controlled by a clan. If we go ahead and take a look at the map itself and zoom in, you can see I'm currently outside this like AI controlled Imperial city bounds. And then everything else, you know, outside of this blue line is going to be controlled by another clan. And you can gather resources in these territories. And as you gather resources in these territories, the clan that currently owns it takes a percentage of that. So it's a great way, you know, if you're a clan and you own some territory, you can really, really easily gather some pretty crazy money. However, in the starting area, you do have some resources here, which is, you know, going to be great for new players, and especially if you just want to play solo, this is also very, very effective. So you go ahead, and when you want to gather resources, you have to go ahead and buy a wagon. So over here, you have a hire wagon button, and each of these carts produce a certain amount that they can be carried. 50,000 is more than enough, especially if you're playing by yourself and you don't have a ton of units, because yeah, this will take everything you need. And then to quickly go ahead and gather resources, just go ahead and click on one of these resource hubs. This is currently a poor pasture, so obviously the buildings in the Imperial City lands will be kind of, you know, pretty low standard stuff. You won't be gathering a lot. So as you can see, possible resources right here. And the ones in the more upgraded cities owned by clans will be able to produce more resources, produce more of these special resources as well. And as you can see, there is a tariff, so this will go to the owner of the area. You then have to spend an extraction token, which you go ahead and gain from completing quests, and I'm sure there'll be more ways of doing this. If you want to see what an extraction token is, it's these things right there. You get them from completing the daily quests. I think you get maybe 6 or 7 for completing them. And then all you have to do is click gather resources, and then this will take a period of time depending on your labor that you have. I think actually the lower skilled units have a better labor cost because they're kind of not professional soldiers, but I'm not actually sure. I'm sure there's some units which are much more efficient at collecting resources. than say others. So yeah, you can go around and just do this. You can also upgrade this in your camp as well, and you can, I think, move around whilst this is happening. You can look at other stuff. So for example, if I wanted to improve it, I could go to my Sculler's hut and, you know, gather some stuff like there. And then after the time has gone, you'll have 2 hours to collect the resources. So I think what you could do is you could go to a few of these, get them all going at once, and then collect them a little bit after. And then what you can do is transfer them over to your wagon. Now these resources will be in my wagon itself. You can see that my wagon's a little bit full, and then I can make my way over to another resource if I want to. If I don't want to collect any more hides, I can go over to this ancient copper mine. Again, you can see it will see how much has left, how much tariff I'll have to pay, as well as the extraction token, because these resources can run out as well. They replenish I think every single day they are replenished in game, which will be, you know, which is a nice way of, you know, limiting players and also making players going to other areas. Like, luckily, I'm allied with everyone around me because I don't think many people care. But if you're part of an enemy clan and you go into enemy territory, they can attack you on the road and take your resources. So you have to be really careful. Also, moving without a cart as well makes you much faster. And so, for example, we'll just gather resources right here, and we'll start getting copper and these possibly these resources as well. As well as this, you can also, as I just mentioned, be attacked on the road by other clans and other factions. I don't think you can do so in the starting area, but obviously there's plenty more, you know, greater resources, so it's a good risk and reward type thing. If I go to another region and try and collect resources outside of the safety of the Imperial, I'll get a bunch more, but it'll also make it kind of risky. So again, we'll just transfer all of this over to our cart and then head our way back to town, and we will go ahead and look into the crafting mechanics. Territory wars on the open map is also a pretty big thing. So for example, if I had my clan with me and we were like rolling, I think 40 man deep is how big our clan can be. So 40 of us could be roaming around the open world together, and if, for example, we wanted to attack an enemy clan, we just have to go over, declare war on them, and then when the war starts, we'd have to go over and we'd just like kind of siege the town, and that would bring us into a siege battle, which I think is really cool. Also, if you end up fighting any pitch battles, it will bring you into a 15v15 battle, and you'll keep on fighting them battles until one side runs out of units. I believe there was a Twitter post not so long ago of a 50 character, like actual players, versus 45 actual players from different clans. And they had a huge fight. I think it was like 3 or 4 15v15 battles, and they slowly got filtered down until the final battle, which happened, and then, you know, whatever side ran out of units went ahead and lost that, and they lost the territory and stuff. So yeah, I think it's just a really cool, interesting way of approaching it, especially when more regions get unlocked as well. You know, at the moment, this is kind of heavily dominated by one clan, the Ming clan in the closed beta. When all this other land is opened up and you can go all around here and around there, and you'll have like mountainous areas you can garrison and special fortresses and stuff, I think it's going to be very exciting. It's not going to be too out of the world that you can control. You know, just a faction of 10 people or 15 people would be able to take control of a city somewhere and hold it for their own. Because, you know, if these houses are only 40 men, 40 characters allowed in them, it's going to be hard to hold a ton of territory all at once if, you know, multiple clans gang up on you and stuff. You're going to have to really pick your battles. So I really like that. It's going to really put a large focus on going ahead and, you know, making alliances to help you in wars and stuff. So now that you've gone ahead and come back to the city, go ahead and click on supply dump, and you're going to want to go ahead and transfer all your resources in your wagon over to your supply dump, and that's basically your camp. Putting it in here will go ahead and, you know, allow you to use it when you go ahead and craft some resources. So let's dive back into the city now. And then we'll go over to the quartermaster, and I'll show you guys how you can craft some equipment for your units, so you can save yourself a ton of bronze, especially for the low tiers as well. This is a great tip to have when you're just starting out the game, because bronze is kind of scarce in the early game, so you want to make sure that you save as much as you can so you can spend it on upgrades and other stuff. You know, crafting your own equipment is also really important, which maybe I'll talk about in another video if you guys want to see it, so let me know in the comments down below. Okay guys, so we are now back inside of the city, so you want to make your way over to this part of the city itself. You can see right here, you're looking for these type of icons. They're normally right next to your office itself, and if you're in the other starting areas, just look for these icons and you'll quickly come across it. So now let's take a look at what we want to craft. So for example, to go and see what your units need, you can go to the unit tree and you can find the units. So let's take a look. For example, the provincial swordsman needs some provincial force armor and some common swords and bucklers. So let's do the bucklers really quickly. So to go ahead and grab them, we'll just go to the weaponsmith right here and we'll find them. So to go ahead and craft these, I need lumber, leather, and iron. If you don't already have them, all you have to do is go over to this guy right here, the unit refinery agent, and you can then basically just craft some resources. So if I wanted to have some more iron, I would just have to, I mean, actually iron's a bad thing, I don't have a lot of it, but let's say lumber, for example. I wanted to craft 100 lumber. It would take up 300 of my 1800 I have in my store, cost me a little bit of money, and then take some time. Then once that's done, you just have to go ahead and select it. This will basically make your resources you gather in the open world into crafting materials you can then use to craft unit equipment. So now I just come back to this guy. I would go ahead and go and decide how many I'd want to craft. You can only craft 5 at a time, but that's fine for me. I'll go ahead and start crafting these, and then they would go into my stockpile once I've gone ahead and done this. I'll transfer them to my camp instead of my wagon. We could do it to the wagon, but we'll just send them to my camp by clicking this button, and then I'd be able to, by pressing U, going onto the swordsman, I would be able to resupply them. I don't actually have any, I'm actually at the maximum status for these swordsmen, but for my bowman, for example, you just click this resupply feature. I actually have some right here, which is coming from my store, and then I just click resupply, and they would then go into the unit itself. It's much cheaper than obtaining them. And you can go ahead and look at all type of ones you want to do, especially when you get to the higher tiers as well. You know, when you have like all of these resources, you need to craft some stuff. It's a much cheaper way of doing it. So hopefully that helped, and it gives you a good idea of the open world as well as crafting unit equipment. So if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Let me know what you thought of the video, and let me know what you wanted me to do next, and I'll see you guys in the next one.